Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video with the adventures of the memory makers. Bushy's up in the air, there's some steel next to me, got a piece of polymetal right here. That can only mean one thing: something's about to happen here at the shop. And what's going to happen is we're going to reinforce this factory 24-gallon water tank and keep it from sagging between the one single factory cross member, and also create protection for it from road debris going down the road or in the trails. If you know anything about these campers, they've got a big water tank. It's 24 gallons. And to have a teardrop camper like this with that kind of capacity is just unheard of. I've worked on $40,000 tiny campers here in the shop that have had 9-gallon water tanks in them. So to have 24 gallons versus 9, obviously that's going to extend your time off grid. But if you can't drive down a bumpy road with that water tank without worrying about issues with it, then that really doesn't do you much good. So we're going to fix this problem. I've had a lot of people ask me for a fix to this. Now don't worry, this isn't something to fret about. If you've got one of these campers, I don't want you thinking that your water tank's going to fall out, because it's only happened in a couple of rare occasions, but all of them are going to sag. And originally the dealer said that we bought it this, said that Braxton Creek would not warranty any damage caused by traveling with water in the tank. So, taking that, into consideration, essentially it's a campground water tank. You get to a campground, you put water in the tank, you use it, you drain it when you leave. We're getting ready to head on a 45-day adventure all the way across the United States and all the way back to the northeast corner of the United States. And there are going to be areas that we need to tank water in because we won't be able to get water where we're going to be camping at. So because of that, that's why I'm getting ready to do this. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, just never had the time. So let me grab the camera, take you underneath with me, and show you what's going on and how we're going to fix this. Okay, underneath the camper here now, we're looking at a 24-gallon HDPE water tank. And you can see the factory puts one angle iron cross member from frame side here to frame side over on the passenger side. And the water tank is designed like a rectangle with ears. And what happens is, you can see up here, there's a piece of angle iron that goes from the front cross member there to the middle cross member right there. And that angle iron creates a shelf for this ear to sit on. So what you want to check for with your camper, really everybody that has one of these ought to check for this, is to go underneath your camper on a creeper. And I got a video that says, that tells you why a creeper is so important to own with a tiny camper. But get your creeper and roll underneath here and check to make sure that this angle iron is really tight to the wall of your tank. So you see right here, there's hardly any room in ours. It's got a nice fit to it, nice and snug. Let's see if I can get my knife up in there. Just barely can I get my knife in there. Now, that's what you want. If you look underneath there and you can get your little pinky in there, and you got a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch gap in there, that's when problems can happen. And what will happen is, as you put water in this tank, the bottom will start to sag, and it'll physically pull the quarters down with the bottom. And if you go down the road and hit a big bump, then you can actually pull this out and pull these ears down inside of these angle irons if they aren't tight to your water tank here. So if you're just a campground camper and not going off grid, not traveling where you need to tank water in, and your tank and this angle iron is nice and tight to the tank, then you have no worries. But if you're wanting to go, down trails, in areas where you're going to have to tank water, it's a good idea to go ahead and reinforce this tank. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the factory reinforcement out right here. And we're going to build essentially a ladder network here underneath the tank with square tubing. And then I'm going to create a skid plate that goes from the front of the camper here across the bottom of my framework. And that will protect things from coming up and jamming up into my framework and potentially poking a hole in the tank like this. So let me get started. I'm not going to be able to do this as a step-by-step DIY, because to be honest, I just don't have time. It takes a lot of time to film these things step by step. So I'm going to get started here, and I'll show you key parts of it as I go along. But when we're done, we're going to have a nice solid mount underneath here and a nice skid plate covering all of this. Got a couple hours to work on this project and made pretty good headway on it. What I've got now is 3 1.5 inch square tube, 1/8 inch wall supports going across. And why I wound up doing it that way was I want my rock guard to be all the way from the front of the tank to as close to the back as I could get. Now you can see where the outlet port for the tank is right there. So this bar right here is now below that outlet point. So it gives good protection for that. And you can see everything is tucked up underneath our axle. So nothing sticks down below the axle. So we got good protection there from anything down below. So tomorrow what I'll do is I'll cut my horizontal pieces, and what they will do is they'll go from each one of these and tie in, and there'll be 3 across. You'll have the edge, and then the center, and then another one on the edge. And what that will do is that'll make a nice boxed area to support that tank, plus give me something to attach my my skid plate to, so that I've got good coverage of the skid plate as well. But overall, I'm pleased with how it's turning out. It's going to be nice and strong. Won't have to worry about that tank popping out. Plus, that skid plate's going to give me an added degree of protection for off-country, backwoods use. So welcome back to day 2 of our water tank reinforcement and protection modification on the Bushwhacker camper. And let me take you underneath and show you what I've got done so far. Got a late start this morning, had to run in town and do a few things, so just getting going here. But I've got my horizontals in. So you can see I got 3 horizontals. This one back here, right there. It's hard to find in the camera. And then we've got the tie pieces that go in between those horizontals. So I've got 2 rows of 3, 2 and 3 down through there, and that is going to provide ample support for our water tank now with 24 gallons of water. We can go bouncing down any fire road that we want to and not have to worry about that sloshing water causing a problem with our water tank. And some of you are probably thinking that's a bit overkill for this camper. And I'll agree with you, it probably is. But if I bought a custom camper today that had a 24-gallon water tank in it, you can bet that I would want it supported something very similar to this. So I'm going to drop this down now and remove this from the camper and finish all my welds around my tie pieces. And then I'm going to install my skid plate on this once I get everything painted. So this will all be covered with a skid plate when we're done with it. Okay, we got everything buttoned up now underneath. Let's go take a look at what we got. So here on the sides, you can see our 3 horizontal cross members that we have in now supporting the tank. So there's the one here in front, one in the middle, one in the back. And as we pan across and look at the water tank, you can see now that the skid plate has got it totally protected all the way from the front to the back, side to side. In fact, the only part of the water tank that's really visible is the side portion right here. So now we have a fully supported and protected 24-gallon freshwater tank here on our camper. And this polymetal, after we ran that big stick up and got it wedged between our tank and the original factory angle iron cross member, I knew that I wanted to have some sort of skid plate underneath the camper to help protect that. And something else that I really liked, let me get back here in the back and I'll show you some added features here that we were able to add into this. So now back here towards the back of the skid plate, you can see that white fitting that sticks down. It actually sticks down out of the bottom of the tank. Well, that fitting before was totally unprotected, whereas now we've got the skid plate plus the steel structure in here to add a protection to that. And then also on the side here, you can see our water pump tucked in now. Well, now it's got this 1.5 inch square steel tube that is protecting it as well. So not only were we able to protect the water tank with the addition of the additional structure in the skid plate, but we also got protection for those 2 items as well. So overall, I'm really pleased with this project. I think it turned out really well. I kind of hate to get it dirty because this black material is almost like a mirror now, but we're getting ready to head out west, and we're going to do some camping in some off-grid areas where we're going to have to take our water with us. So this is going to allow us to do this with no worry of losing our water tank or having any issues with sticks and stuff coming up and puncturing that tank. So I hope this helps everyone out. And until the next video, happy camping.